This session is going to discuss the icons located in the upper right corner of the Smart Notebook when you open up a new notebook page. The first two icons aren't going to be used on an everyday basis. They are focused on if you're going to use the student response system. This first one is to insert a question for a student response test. This one is to start the administration of a student response test. If you have the student response clickers, the Sensio clickers or the Smart brand clickers, you have to have the software installed to run them. And you can get that at the Smart website and have it downloaded. Or if you're have to have a IT person come in and do it, just do a work order and have that installed. The third one in is an insert table. I don't really use it a lot because I can't vary a column's width or a row's width. It's a lockbox size column, table. You turn in the parameters. You type in the parameters for the size of the table you want. Do you want a 3 by 3, a 5 by 5, 20 by 20, etc.? And then it places it. When I was developing calendars for pre-K, I would need columns of a certain width and then rows of a certain width, and I ended up just drawing it in using the line tool and infinitely cloning my lines so they're all the same consistent length. This tool right here is your measurement tool, protractor, compass, ruler. It is the only basic math tools that it comes with. There is a math package that you can buy. It may retail anywhere between $100 and $150, and it probably would only be applicable for high school math classes and beyond. You can get a working calculator, and if you're creative, you can get better calculators and import them into your Smart Notebook. This icon right here is your select icon, and it's probably the single most tool you're going to be using, because it doesn't automatically, after you perform a function, you do not automatically go back to a select icon. For example, if you were to choose this, which is just a shape maker, and you wanted to make a rectangle, well, if you made the rectangle and then you wanted to go do something else, such as make a circle, and you touched your pen to the notebook screen, you would get another rectangle. If you wanted to manipulate that rectangle to move its orientation or its size, and you touch the pen to the screen, you would again end up with another rectangle being constructed. So what you have to do is you make a rectangle and then you want to manipulate that rectangle. Suppose I want to move it up to the upper left-hand corner. I have to come back to the select tool. And one of the common mistakes a first-time SmartBoard user makes is that they'll make a shape and then want to move the shape, and then consequently then they make several misshapes that they didn't intend because they failed to go back to the select icon. Now when you make mistakes, you can also use the infinite delete, undo on the upper left-hand side of the screen. The next pen is your pen, your pen icon, which is a pen, and you don't have to necessarily grab a pen from the bar. You can select a pen here, and this is especially helpful when you're designing a SmartBoard lesson on your computer and you don't have the pen rack at the bottom. You can come here and you can select the color style pen that you want. The next pen is a magic pen, and you can use it a couple different ways. You can draw a shape with this pen, and that shape will eventually disappear. What it really was intended to do was to highlight something, spotlight on something. So if you drew it a circle, whatever was in the circle would stay lit, and everything around it would turn dark gray, eventually fade out to be invisible. It has some limited use, but it is a novelty type pen. And speaking of novelty pen, these are the creative pens. You have several different choices. If you want to write and make happy faces or purple squiggly fuzzy lines, you can do that with this. It's sometimes a nice attention getter. Kids seem to respond to it. This is your eraser, and you have 3 eraser types, I believe, on this. Another way to simply erase is to grab the eraser, and if I wanted to erase, say, this, then what I would do is I would take my eraser and I would draw it in a circle, and everything within that circle then would be erased. So there's more than one way to erase stuff. Your line segment, your line maker, it can do a straight line. It can do lines with square ends. It can do lines with arrow ends. If you can double click on it, and you can choose a lot of line properties. Speaking of properties, that's what this thing is right here. And you'll notice the same type of icon on the right or left side of your screen. This is the properties menu launcher. And under properties, you can choose the shape, the color, the thickness of your lines on these shapes here. This is a shape maker, and you can, there's probably about 13 different shapes, from your basic polygons up to stars, to bubbles. If you have like a question bubble you're writing and you want to ask a question that maybe a student would write or something, you can do that. So you experiment with that, but just remember, when you're using these 2 items, you always have to go back to this to make them stop working. This is a regular polygon maker, and I think it makes about 12 or so regular polygons. This is a standalone paint tool, and this is your font, your text tool. You can double click on that and go in and identify the type of font you can use. You can change the size of the font and color of the font. And like I said before, this is your properties, and we're going to talk about properties in a separate talk, because there's so many different things that you can do with any of these items that you are constructing with. Thank you.